Anyway, that's our
Actually, so if we found a place close to our house,
There's like a
there is a with for years.
Yeah.
They are right in the corner. So if someone reads that, yeah, you can read the down.
Hello, Kathy.
So then there's a granddaughter in law that says she looking for another child. Oh, so these are just Guthrie kids. I was she had a daughter
We've seen Sebastian before. His first birthday party. Sebastian looks just the same.
You're good. Go for it.
Prayer now for family
and sisters, family and friends of Spencer Shields. We welcome you to this service today. I am Bishop Caldwell. I've been asked by the family to conduct this service. Just prior to this, the family prayer was offered by John Langford, his son-in-law. I would like to thank Angie Caldwell, his sister, Tiffany Caldwell, for the music today. Our opening hymn will be Families Can Be Together, hymn number 300, after which we'll have an invocation offered by Kim Shields.
Dearest, kindest Heavenly Father, we pray to Thee at this time, and as we gather together to celebrate the life and reminiscence of Spencer. We're so grateful for the time that we had with him and for his leadership and devotion to You, Lord. We pray that we can all feel peace at this time. We feel gratitude for all the time and many lessons that He taught us. We're grateful for His service and His extreme devotion to Thee. I pray that we can come together and remember the good times, and we give Him back to Thee and pray that for Thy comfort. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you for that beautiful prayer, Sister Shields. We'll now have a few speakers. We'll have the opportunity to hear from Jacob Shields, Spencer's son, then from Dennis Shields, his brother, after which we'll hear from Jeff Kennedy, a close friend. We'll then hear from Savannah Manson, and then a granddaughter. One more speaker will be Aaron Langford, his daughter. We'll go in that order.
good to see so many people here who know Spencer. William Spencer Shields was born January 3rd, 1946 in the high desert town of Pioche, Nevada, where he spent his earliest years. In his earliest years there, it became evident that this boy was a bit of a wild one. He was a bit of a terror, and he was always running off and getting himself into mischief. There's a family story that illustrates this. According to his mom and grandma, at times they had to put a harness and leash on him and tie him to their old Singer sewing machine. For his own good, of course, to keep him from running away. As a funny aside, when we were little, my little sister, Jessica, where's Jessica? There you are. My little sister Jessica, we would go to places like Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm, and any chance she got as a toddler, she ran away. We had scary experiences with her at Knott's Berry Farm getting lost. We had experiences with her at the state fair where we used to show goats getting lost. She quickly took his penchant for mischief with an intense curiosity about the world around him. Very early on, he would take apart his poor mom's radio to see if he could figure out how it worked. One of the earliest of many examples of his impulsive shenanigans was a story that he told me himself. As a very young boy in Pioche, he randomly became curious about how nails would interact with car tires. He found a place where he could secretly line the road with large nails, quite sure that when a car drove by, the tire would simply push the nail over and nothing would happen. But this little scientist needed to conduct that experiment to see for himself. His hypothesis was proven false when, as he discovered, car tires do not in fact simply push nails over. Most science experiments require their funding in advance, but this one required its funds after the fact, in the form of money spent by my poor Grandma Mary on new tires for the residents of Pioche, who unknowingly supplied the data for this little experiment and had the tires flattened. My Uncle Dennis can speak more to the youth and teenage years, but suffice it to say that from the many frank conversations I had with my dad, especially on our extended time together on elk hunts, it was clear that this restless, impulsive, curious nature got him into plenty of trouble as well into his teenage years. But after it all, and with the relentless efforts of my Grandma Mary and Great Grandma Davis, who largely raised him, the intelligent part of his nature won out, and they managed to help get him off to BYU for his college years. That is where the best thing that could have possibly happened to him happened. He met a tall, athletic young woman from Seattle by the name of Bonnie Jean Nyquist. They fell in love and were married in March of 1972. My dear mother Bonnie would, I believe, become the biggest force for good in my dad's life. She became his rock, his anchor, and to my dad's credit, he brought all he could bear to the table, and he leaned into his newfound life by embracing his duty as a husband and father. And I've now been married for 54 years, an incredible accomplishment. My parents went on to have 6 children together. Myself, Jacob, the oldest. My sister Fawn, who passed away in 2020. Josie, then Joshua, who passed away in 1982 at the age of 4. And then little Spencer, or Jessica. And then the youngest, Aaron, who we'll be hearing from a little bit later. The attributes and the priorities and the principles of dad the dad that I know can be summarized in 4 basic phrases. Duty to country, duty to family, duty to God, and elk hunting. Oh, oops, I accidentally put those in reverse order. All joking aside, I'm really excited to hear his lifelong best friend Jeff talk more about the elk hunting, though I did enjoy several epic hunts with him as well. I want to talk more about the duty to family and duty to God. First, I want to talk about family and my dad as a father. My dad was raised without a father. His dad, who I have a lot of empathy for from what I've been told, fought in one of the most horrific World War II battles at Anzio, aptly nicknamed Bloody Anzio, defending Italy from Nazi Germany. After the war and the macho culture of the time, where there were little to no resources for veterans, his dad coped with his trauma and sorrow and alcoholism and just was never able to be there. Despite this, my dad did an incredibly admirable job of piecing together his knowledge about being a father from what he learned from his mom and grandma, as well as brief summer stints spending time with his Uncle Stuart on his farm in Rexburg, Idaho. He took this role very seriously, and I had the good fortune of growing up as a young boy, and I don't take this for granted because I know he was there. I grew up as a young boy with a certain knowledge that my dad was the strongest dad in town, the toughest dad in town. My dad could for sure beat up all my friends' dads. Dad spent his mornings and evenings milking the family goats, and one of my favorite things was having him flex his forearms, and I always marveled at how when I felt his forearms, it felt like I was feeling a rock. And like I said, I don't take it for granted. This is just simply an illustration of how he was there, he was present. And that is often half the battle, especially at the time when he's working in the coal mines. And all the barnyard duties that he had, he still had time to be present and to be there. And I idolized him for that. He also taught me some important life lessons, some of them pretty big. I'll just share one that stands out. As a young kid, I'm guessing maybe I was 10 or 11, my sister Josie and I would fight like cats and dogs. I mean, we were at each other's throats verbally, always fighting, arguing, because we were both a little bullheaded and stubborn. One time it sadly got to the point that I became so upset that I hit her. And we're talking about full on in the face. She claims she doesn't remember this, and I'm glad. I'm sorry again, Josie. My dad's reaction when he found out was the kind that you never forget. Now, if you know my dad, you know one of the things that you could say to describe him is stoic. He was a stoic. He was never one to fly off the handle, never one to scream and yell. And in this situation, it was no different. All I can say is that instead of the normal go to your room and think about what you've done reaction, he was as fully engaged and fully present as I've ever seen. It was as if his eyes were a spotlight on me, and he took the opportunity to teach me an important principle that was bigger than just how I had conducted myself in that situation. In the most intense, fierce, and powerful way you could ever imagine from someone who was still fully in control of his emotions, he conveyed the clear message, don't you ever hurt your sister again. Don't you ever hurt a girl. Don't you ever hurt a woman. At that moment, the message was not only received, it was seared into my soul and my identity, and has thankfully forever been a part of who I am to my core. Now, my dad's restless, impulsive, and curious nature would still manifest itself in several ways throughout my life, as much as my mom managed to tame him. My favorite ways were in all the adventures that he and my mom took us on. My parents actually met in the youth leadership department at BYU, and their emphasis was on wilderness survival. From a very young age, they took us all over creation, camping, hiking, exploring, creating so many great memories for us kids. One of our family favorites was our near annual hike down a slot canyon in southern Utah called Little Death Hollow. Little because it was narrow and claustrophobic in places, and death because, well, that might happen. On those trips, I always felt proud of my parents for all the expertise they had. And I knew we were in good hands. On one particular hike in the bottom of Little Death Hollow, we encountered a snake huddled up against one of the canyon walls. I don't know if you remember this, but the snake was coiled up, hissing and shaking its tail against the sand. Fortunately, there was plenty of room in that particular spot for us to skirt around the snake, But my dad was a survival expert, so we all kind of deferred to him to lead the way. His expert solution? Go and try to pick up the snake, of course. To united cries from his kids of "Dad, no," he walked up to the snake and was promptly bitten on the hand as he picked it up. To our relief, it turned out to be either a gopher snake or king snake. I'm not quite sure, but it was non-venomous, so he came away with only a slightly bloody hand and maybe a little swelling. Later, I thought about it and realized, I'm sure he absolutely knew that it wasn't a rattlesnake. He just wanted to show off to his family and friends that were there. But again, this just highlights his curious and his impulsive and adventurous spirit that was always there. Dad's sense of duty to family was broader than just his immediate family. He did so many things to help out our friends if they were in need. As a teenager, my best friend Orson and I went elk hunting near Fairview, and Orson managed to get an elk. The problem was this elk was way up on a steep mountain face, at least a couple miles from the valley floor where we had to park. As young teenagers, we were both underprepared to take care of this elk. Now, I had school the next day, which I gladly used as an excuse to get out of the situation. But my dad, even though he barely knew my friend Orson at all, happily jumped into action, took an entire day out of his schedule to round up the packs, the game bags, the knives, and all that would be needed to take my friend out to take care of this elk. They hiked him to where the elk was, and my dad proceeded to spend an entire day teaching my friend the best way to debone an elk, allegedly, as well as a couple dirty jokes along the way, is the way my friend tells it. Then, of course, was the arduous trip back to the car, with each of them carrying nearly 100 pounds of elk meat on their backs. To this day, my friend Orson and I still go hunting and backpacking together every year, and without fail, he talks about that day and how much respect he gained from my dad for helping him out. There are so many more stories I'd love to tell, and I'm so looking forward to hearing the other speakers. Just briefly, like the time that being a ham radio operator saved his bacon when he had to be search and rescue helicoptered out of the Uintas after a freak blizzard. Or how, we're not sure, but right around the age of 60, he was able to hike to the top of Kings Peak, the tallest point in Utah, with my sister Vaughn. I did that hike when I was a little under 50, and man, I had to smile as I got to the top thinking that my dad and Vaughn had done that hike. It was a real challenge. But I need to wrap up and close with maybe the most important thing to him, and that is duty to God. Dad had a very powerful testimony and belief in the church and gospel of Jesus Christ. In fact, much of that testimony came from experiences he had had while he was up in the Uintas by himself, where he had the time, the space, and the freedom to really contemplate his spirituality. He had some powerful spiritual experiences out there, and he saw his experiences very similar to the character of Enos in the Book of Mormon. In the book of Enos, verses 3 through 6, Enos describes his experience. "Behold, I went to hunt beasts in the forest, and the words which I had often heard my father speak concerning eternal life and the joy of the saints sunk deep into my heart, and my soul hungered. And I kneeled down before my Maker, and I cried unto him in mighty prayer and supplication for mine own soul. And all the day did I cry unto him, yea, and when the night came, I did still raise my voice, high that it reached the heavens. And there came a voice unto me, saying, Enos, thy sins are forgiven thee, and thou shalt be blessed. And I, Enos, knew that God could not lie, wherefore my guilt was swept away." He strongly related to that. That was a powerful experience for him. And in a sense, I was kind of jealous that he had such a dramatic spiritual experience. Those don't come easily, for sure. So I want to close by just saying that I'm so thankful for my dad, the fact that he was there for us, took the time to teach us, to lead us, and I do marvel at his steadiness and consistency for those last 50 years of his life. And I hope that that sense of duty, steadiness, and consistency are things that I can emulate for the rest of my life. And leave those thoughts